Let's talk now to Dan Feferman, Middle East Affairs Analyst and former IDF Major. Dan, very good morning to you.
Yeah, good morning.
I mean, this came sort of out of the blue yesterday, didn't it? I mean, we saw a story yesterday morning that Tony Blair was sniffing around, possibly being put in charge of a new peaceful Gaza. What's the reaction been over there?
I think the actual wording of the press conference and the kind of language Trump was using, I would say, did come out of the blue. But the buildup was something that we've been paying attention to for the better part of a week.
Yeah.
The Trump administration has been hinting increasingly loudly to Israel over the last months, certainly over the last weeks, that it wants this war to wind down, that it's not seeing a real benefit from the latest Israeli incursion, which was meant really just to amp up the pressure on Hamas to accept the terms, the surrender terms that any vanquished foe in a conflict should accept. I think we should pay attention less to Trump's words of some kind of historic peace, a new Middle East, etc. And you should look at his tone. And the tone is much more sober. It's much more somber. And what we have here essentially is, I mean, the language is fine. The points of the agreement, the 21-point Trump plan that came out a few days ago, are solid and sound, and I think they should have been pushed out by the White House 2 years ago, or almost 2 years ago, right after the October 7th attack. The big problem we have here, Mike, is that Hamas hasn't accepted this yet.
Right.
And it's going to be very, very hard for myself or other Middle East watchers to see a scenario in which a fanatical jihadist entity, which is Hamas, accept an agreement that includes its own disarmament and banishment from Gaza and from power. And that's going to be really the crux here, is will Hamas agree to this? And then how do you implement? It's going to be very difficult to implement an agreement on the ground where Hamas gives up the hostages, the one leverage it has, and the arms that keep it in power, because essentially it's been acting like a complete mafia, a power-hungry mafia, for the 20 years it's been in power, but certainly for the last 2 years.
Well, they'd effectively be voting for their own demise, wouldn't they, and their own destruction, so you can't really see it happening.
Exactly, and so the question is, and the only way that I can see this playing through is if enough, and this is what I've been saying, I've said this on your show, I've said this on others, if the international community led by the United States and the main European players would have pressured Hamas from day one and made it clear that Hamas has absolutely no lifeline, no future in Gaza and Palestinian politics, we might have been able to reach this conclusion well over a year ago. The problem is that every time Hamas instigated a very devious PR campaign, and everyone decided to pressure Israel rather than to pressure the party that instigated this entire war and the one who refuses to end it. So the only reason Hamas accepts this kind of plan is if it feels it has absolutely no choice, and if this is a live to fight another day moment for it, that it will try to regroup, it will try to rebuild, it will try to rearm, and it will try to launch more attacks. It has zero purpose in any kind of regional politics or in the Israeli conflict if it's not war, jihad, terrorism, and the eventual conquering of what it views as all of historic Palestine and eventually the Middle East. If it doesn't feel that it can do that, then it's not going to accept this plan. And this would be just a short-term tactical plan on its end. The big question will be the implementation. Can you actually force Hamas to give up its arms and be able to declare a victory over it, because that's what's really important.
Absolutely. Dan, thanks very much indeed. Dan Feferman there talking to us from Tel Aviv. He's, of course, Middle East Affairs Analyst.